Rob, all of you people just joining us right now. I mean, you have to have seen it, right? You've seen the tweet.
You know why we're here.
We're here because big news for the NWA and the hashtag NWA fam. This is incredible. But hey, this is Gary Horn. That's my Twitter handle. That's not my actual name. I'm here with J Cal from the Alliance blog, Jason Cayley, and I'm also here with Will Martin and off and on Rob Stinson. Rob Stinson is still working, I think, is the problem.
He's working too late. Go home.
Oh my gosh. Yes. People in the chat asking for details. Hey, send out the link, send out the info on the chat, retweet this thing, get it out there. Let people know we are here and we are talking live. We want to hang out with you guys and discuss what's going on with the NWA. Here in a few minutes, I'm just going to read the actual thing from David Marquez that he launched on Twitter or on Facebook. And as soon as Rob looks less lost.
No, I'm sorry. I'm trying to multitask, man. My bad.
Man, I just came off recording my movie podcast and like right at the end, y'all like distracted my focus because Rob just started shooting this stuff in about new NWA news and it's alive and I'm crying right now and what's happening and blah, blah, blah. And it just blew my mind and I had to jump on. And it looks like, boys, we're back in business.
Woo! We back.
We've used this time to launch all of our efforts. J Cal has like upped his game 110% on his broadcasting and his live streaming and everything. Now we've partnered up with him doing stuff together. We've got a triple threat going on the post show. He's got the pre-show lockdown and all we've been missing is a show. And now we got one. Although the timing, little sus.
Little suspect. But we're going to give it a pass because of the current situation.
Exactly. This is exciting news. So I was trying to give it a little bit more time for people to join in before we get into the actual news. But, well, hell, we might as well start, right?
Break into it, man. Let's go.
All right, so I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to read exactly what David Marquez posted that will get you guys' thoughts. Taking a deep breath. Here it is. United Wrestling Network, National Wrestling Alliance, and Thunder Studios, unrelated to Thunder Rosa, I think.
No relation.
No relation. Yeah. I looked them up on Facebook and I was like, oh, this is weird. Did she start her own thing? But no, it's completely unrelated. Today announced that they will partner to launch an all-new live weekly professional wrestling pay-per-view series on national cable/satellite television and streaming on Fight. United Wrestling Network's Primetime Live is set to be 90 minutes of hard-hitting, can't-miss action premiering Tuesday, September 15th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and will originate live from Thunder's Long Beach studios. This unprecedented new series will be a grand showcase of acclaimed talent and competitors from all regions and different promotions across the globe in their quest to settle real-life feuds and attain championship glory, with an emphasis on the NWA and UWN championships. Each week on UWN Primetime Live, anything can happen in the ring and behind the scenes. This is from William Patrick Corrigan. He says, I'm pleased that we're finally able to announce some good news. And in partnering with the United Wrestling Network, we'll be able to get back to work with what promises to be top tier matchups. And soon it goes without saying that 2020 has been a challenging year for everyone. And our goal in reestablishing in-ring NWA action was to make sure that our talent would be protected, working within the now established safety protocols, as well as delivering consistent, high-quality content like our vaunted shows NWA Power and 10 Pounds of Gold. But this will be more than just a weekly live pay-per-view broadcast, as we plan on shooting additional content for the NWA YouTube channel and our Patreon subscribers. My goal here is simple: to provide the best contests possible with the greatest talent available, carrying on the great legacy of the National Wrestling Alliance as an independent governing body. And in that, we hope to feature at least one championship match on every live broadcast. Oh, that's exciting news already. Then to top that off, we've got David Marquez jumping in. Well, you know what? Doesn't matter anymore because the champ is here, ladies and gentlemen. Nick Aldis has joined us on the show. Mr. Aldis, the real world champion. I'm glad you've got that fixed down there. That is beautiful. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Gregarious Gary Horn. How are you?
I'm great.
It's been a minute.
It has been a minute, man. And you have we've been talking constantly, week after week, about how you and especially you and Thunder Rosa, I think, have been keeping the conversation going with the National Wrestling Alliance. And we love that. It gives us something to talk about every week. We've also been trying to keep the flame alive. But today's the day for really big news. Today is the actual announcement that we're actually going to see you back in a ring pretty soon, it sounds like.
Yes. And you're right. I think that it's fair to say that Rosa and myself have certainly sort of taken on the mantle of representing the brand and representing the organization and representing the fans that have stood by us and waited very patiently for our next path forward. And that we both take the responsibility of being world champion very seriously in that respect. And that's why she's such a credible candidate, you know, beyond her obvious talent as an in-ring performer. It's so hard in situations like this because obviously I've known about the inner workings of this and the sort of, pretty much from the embryonic days of it, but it's difficult because you can't say anything. And obviously there's a tendency in the wrestling business to tend to sort of jump the gun on stuff or to overhype stuff and say, oh, big things coming, brother, and like, what's this space and things like that, which will inevitably and invariably always end up in disappointment because people will create something in their head that can't be reached. So with this concept, it's different, it's very unique, and it's, obviously some of it is just circumstances that presented themselves to us or to our affiliates, David Marquez, at the United Wrestling Network. And, in the meantime, it's just been figuring out how to make it work. So, but obviously my stance on it has been clear from the beginning. Like, as long as it's high quality and as long as the NWA is represented in the way that it has been up until this point, I'm ready to lace them up whenever. So I'm very excited.
This is exciting. I mean, we were caught off guard with the announcement that you're going to be taking on Jeff Cobb coming up here pretty soon anyway, here at the end of this month, I believe. And you and Thunder are both going to be back in the ring, and Thunder's got our Mission Pro thing going on. But it sounds like, based on what you're saying, this has been something you guys have been tossing around for a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can't say for sure when the concept was first presented to me, but it's certainly been from my perspective anyway, it's certainly been several weeks that I've been sort of back and forth with Billy and David, and even had a couple of great conversations actually with one of the top representatives at Fight TV, who called me personally to not to verify, but to kind of talk about it with me and to sort of make sure I was on board and make sure that I was kind of involved in everything, and which obviously I took as a great compliment, but he was keen to make sure that I was happy with it and I was involved and I was gonna, because the truth is he pretty much said, look, man, the NWA's got fans and they're gonna, and you guys need to, we're here, we're ready to work with you on whatever, which was a big boost to us as a brand, because to have Fight TV basically tell us, like, look, we really want to know whatever you're involved with. But he pretty much said, whatever the NWA is involved with, like, we're on board, because we know what you guys bring to the table, and you guys have delivered every time on pay-per-view financially. And, you know, and to me personally, he's like, if you're involved, then I'm involved. So that was cool.
Yeah, those guys have been super nice. Sorry, go ahead, Jake.
Hey, Nick. Good seeing you again. Great news that we heard today. What else was presented to you guys? Are you allowed to talk about that? Was there anything else that was presented to you, to Billy, to the NWA about what other options could be out there? Or was it strictly this was the plan all along and this is exactly what you guys have been working for the last few weeks?
I don't know if it was a case of other stuff that was presented to us. I mean, I was presenting ideas. I was presenting different options to Billy, and you know, Billy's been putting together kind of think tanks, pretty much, well, certainly over the last 3 or 4 months, you know, we've been having regular kind of think tanks with various people that he trusts, as far as, you know, other talent or guys like David Marquez and people like that involved with the company, where we just threw things out there. So I don't recall at this point whether there was anything else particularly kind of on the table, so to speak, as far as another particular kind of idea. But obviously we kicked around all kinds of stuff. But the pay-per-view situation was something that where I believe it was On Demand actually kind of approached David Marquez and, you know, basically kind of presented this opportunity. And then and then we were involved because he understood then that, you know, to pull off something like this, you know, you need players. And obviously we've had a great relationship, you know, ever since the Corgan era, but obviously David's roots in the NWA run, you know, much deeper and further back than that. But, you know, this just to be clear, just because, I mean, this is one new project, initiative, whatever you want to call it. This is one new thing that we've sort of been able to get off the ground and finally sort of got everything in place where we can say, okay, we're doing this. But there are 2 or 3 other very cool things that we hope to get kind of finalized and squared away within the next couple of months, certainly by fall, I think. You know, one of which I've been very, very heavily involved with, and I mean, I've mentioned it. I mean, shit, there's no point sort of beating around the bush here. I've mentioned it a couple of times on like Busted Open and a couple other places, but I shot a pilot for a training series, sort of following, you know, the guy, sort of the next generation of guys looking to become stars in wrestling. You know, a concept since recreated by somebody else, but it's actually since I actually put a pilot together and Billy's seen it, and I sent it to a bunch of people that I trust and, you know, whose opinion I like. And since that, it's now sort of evolved into something much bigger and potentially a much sort of wider kind of project. So that's kind of interesting and very cool. And I'm very confident that one way or another that will get off the ground very shortly as well.
So let me ask you this then, because up until the everything kind of got shut down because of COVID, I mean, we were leading up to the Crockett Cup. We were leading up to obviously more power tapings. Does this put the kibosh on Crockett Cup 2020, or is there still plans that might happen if things go well in terms of COVID?
That would be something that I would be reluctant to speak on directly, but sure. I can't. All I know for sure is that Billy and I share the opinion that there are certain things that without an audience just don't work, and for us, power is one of those things. And obviously the Crockett Cup. I mean, that. It was obviously never a good time for a worldwide deadly pandemic,
right?
But it was, for us, that it was a punch in the gut, simply because we were on course to break all our records with that. And look, I dare say that hopefully somewhere down the road, like the Gateway Arena in Atlanta were phenomenal partners up until that point, and they were very excited about having us. And man, I went to go tour that arena with Gary Juster and the guys there, like way back before it had been announced. And when I was in town for a Ring of Honor show, and God, it was just such a gorgeous building, like brand spanking new, just perfect for wrestling, like not a bad seat in the house. And I would imagine that hopefully one day when we are able to sort of have paying audience again, that would be top of the list, because Atlanta has sort of become our kind of spiritual home. But I mean, I can't see Crockett Cup 2020 happening. I think it would just be one of those things where hopefully by 2021, we might be back in some sort of shape to be able to do something. But a lot of those indicators, obviously Billy has, a lot of contacts and a lot of influence in the entertainment and live event business. And I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but a lot of those indicators aren't great for 2021, even as far as live events and things of that nature. So all I can say for sure is that we are, for the time being, predominantly looking at the NWA again as a digital content brand, much like in the early days with 10 Pounds of Gold series, because I believe that while empty arena stuff is not impossible to pull off, I believe that it's better in small doses, where it feels special and it feels important. And it's important for us not to oversaturate an already kind of exhausted market with, I think there's just a general fatigue with the audience for empty arena wrestling. And I have the utmost respect for the wrestling companies out there who are obligated to keep putting out weekly television, without an audience, because, it isn't great long-term for your brand. So I think in many respects, we're kind of lucky, if that's the right word, that we're not obligated. We didn't have to keep producing stuff that obviously isn't the same level of quality as the usual stuff with a raucous crowd. And let's face it, when it comes to NWA Power, you guys, the audience, were very much the 12th man. Like, I mean, you were as much a part of that show as me or any other member of the roster. Maybe not me, but everyone else on the roster. But like, so for us, it's like we just looked at it and went, there are things we can do, but we don't want to diminish our most treasured asset, which would be power in terms of content, And so, like I said, that's one of the things that we've been taking into account when we've been sort of pivoting for new ideas. But we're moving forward as a digital content brand.
Hey Champ, is there anything you can tell us about how the pay-per-view structure is going to work? Is it going to be like a subscription thing or week by week, or is there anything you can tell us about that?
Not much. I know, as far as I'm aware, it's basically a weekly pay-per-view, but it would be at a low price point. So some fans might remember how the sort of the original TNA model was. As far as I'm aware, it's something similar to that. Now, as far as our level of involvement, obviously it's a United Wrestling Network product. So again, reluctant to speak too much on this. So don't, so take what I'm saying here with a pinch of salt. But the last conversation we had about it, my suggestion, my input was that perhaps every, because obviously there are going to be various promotions who are going to be showcased on these shows. So my suggestion was that perhaps for certain of the, certain shows, certain pay-per-views in this series will be more predominantly NWA pay-per-views, and then others may have, one NWA match or, some sort of NWA appearance. But my opinion is that, it would be more effective for us to focus on one every few weeks or whatever, so that we can build to them effectively and get the people interested, so that, they part with their money, because obviously we understand that, it's a big ask to ask the audience to pay for content, especially when there's so much of it. So again, that's my input. That's not an official party line. That was my last input on the matter. And I would, again, quite confidently, but not definitively, say that as part of this agreement, taking part in these events, we'll be able to shoot a bunch of other content, which will then go out to our other platforms like YouTube and Patreon and things like that.
So I have another question, Nick, because I know that the NWA has always enjoyed a good relationship with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. So much so that you've made appearances on the program. A lot of the other talent, Eli Drake, James Storm, Thunder Rosa, and even before then, Jazz, Tim Storm, Josephus. I mean, it's always felt like Championship Wrestling from Hollywood was officially, unofficially affiliated with the NWA. Do you think now that they're also going back into production at the Ocean View Pavilion for their weekly television show, do you believe that the NWA will be involved with that as well as the weekly pay-per-view, or do you think this is kind of going to cancel the other out?
That's been discussed. I think it's just going to be one of those situations where, if logistically it makes sense. I love the Ocean View. I don't know why. It's like I have a real affinity for that place. I love it just on a personal level. I really enjoy just like flying out to LA and driving out along the PCH and kind of, going past Malibu and all that, and then getting out towards Oxnard and everything, and getting out there and going to the Ocean View. To me, you have to remember, I grew up in rural Norfolk, England village, with a Church of England, and, everything's quite prim and proper, and, weather was not necessarily fantastic. And so for me, the idea of one of the things I loved about, wrestling was that it allowed me to come to America, and I from a kid, I always wanted to come to America, and I love the idea of palm trees and the beach and doing cool stuff and, hot chicks and all this kind of stuff. So the idea of being able to wrestle at the Ocean View Pavilion, and literally be like 50 yards from the beach in California, and, being able to like chill on the sand and crack open a couple of cold ones after I've had a match is like, I'm always going to jump on that. So if like I say, I hope so. If it makes sense, and we can, make the deal work. I again, confident, but I can't definitively say we would, but I would see all the logic in the world in making that happen. Yeah.
I know if it was up to Dave Marquez, you guys would be, and for sure that 805 crowd, man, they love the NWA, they love Nick Aldis. So
yes, they do.
That's always awesome.
They've been very, very good to us and very, very good to me. And I think that it can't be understated. And I know, Jake, how you know this anyway, but it can't be understated how important their reaction was in the early going for us, because, clips and for a lot of fans, especially online fans, you get 5 seconds, to make an impression. So if we can have a great edited video package, that shows me getting a standing ovation, suddenly that might be enough to make someone who is on the fence about checking out our stuff go, man, like, look at that. And that's what the Ocean View fans gave to us, was that really receptive, really responsive crowd reaction that then helped elevate, me and the title and Tim and the brand, and and we kind of built off of that, to go from, what I would consider like, that was our first real kind of barometer of success of us kind of getting over was seeing that, and to think that within less than a year of doing that, I was stood across the ring from Cody in front of 11,000 people standing, really all based on the momentum created there. So, it's not lost on me for sure.
Well, and don't be too modest, champ, because I was with you in China, man, and those people didn't know about the NWA, but they sure as hell lived it when you were there, man. And you and Cabana had them in the palm of your hands.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm sure it didn't hurt the fact that my face was plastered on billboards and buildings and bridges and cars and cabs. And honestly, I've never seen a higher level of advertising for besides maybe like WrestleMania or, a big WWE event when they sort of take over a town. I couldn't believe the level of advertising. It was just like everywhere you looked, there was a huge picture of me with the title and the graphics with all some of the other guys featured on that show. It was phenomenal. And I mean, it's like, you were there. It was unbelievable. Yeah, there it is. Being able to just, first time in a completely foreign land, and then like go in this arena and there's thousands of people just like, you're the main event. I mean, that was a pretty cool feeling. And yeah, look, that's the power of the brand, because they took it seriously. Like our whole thing from day one has been, we present it like when it comes, okay, look, I know we had Carney Land, and we've had, there's been some characters who are a little more on the entertainment side, it's like a bit more on the tongue-in-cheek sort of side. But one thing you can guarantee when it comes to the NWA is that the main event, the world title or the women's title, is going to be presented in an authentic, believable fashion that makes you take it seriously and makes you proud to be a wrestling fan and proud to be an NWA fan. And I think that's what we represented in China too, because those guys, our partners over there, they, the press conference was like, it was probably one of the most professional things I've ever been involved with as far as wrestling is concerned, because just the level of sophistication, like everything down to like the little mini flags and, the whole thing. They really rolled out the red carpet for us. And to me, that's what the business is about. It's like the audience will buy into whatever you present to them. If you take yourself seriously and you present it seriously and your brand and everything that you're coming forward with is presented as something to be taken seriously, then the audience has no choice, But if there's a shred of doubt or a shred of, lack of belief, or just a shred of kind of, not taking it 100% seriously or joking, then, that gives the audience the out to go, okay, but I've never done that. And that's always been my influence on the NWA, is to never do that. And that's why I think we've cultivated such a strong, loyal fan base.
Hey, champ, first of all, happy day 660.
Stinson. I didn't even know you were here.
I'm actually hiding out in my office.
Screen, and I'm looking at this split screen, and you were relegated to another swipe right. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm at open house at high school right now, so I ducked in my office to jump in this chat and everything. But for one, I'm so thrilled. I feel like I'm about to wake up and this is going to be a dream, because I feel like we've been waiting. We knew it was going to come, but I'm happy it came on day 660 of your title reign. Speaking about the importance of what you and Thunder Rosa have done, have there been, and you may not be at liberty to say anything about this, and that's fine, but I wonder, we're actually going to the Mission Pro event in September. You're doing something in Texas in late August. Are there any other plans to do any other defenses here in the near future outside of what's happening now with United?
There's been a number of third-party promoters have reached out. Someone else who needs to be mentioned is, I know I already put Thunder Rosa over, and God knows she gets enough of that. So I need to talk about Maureen. She's been just, man.
God bless Maureen.
What a rock star she's been throughout this whole thing. Her and I have worked very closely on kind of steering the ship, keeping things going, making sure that if there's something the other needs, we try to sort of accommodate that. But as far as, I would say definitely in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I mean, some of it's probably as a result of all the Bruce Pritchard stuff, but like the number of media requests I've had come in the last couple of weeks is mad, and third-party booking requests. I think like once the Texas booking got confirmed, there's a number of others that have come. I mean, like I said, I forward them on to Maureen, or Maureen gets them directly, and then we kind of work together on making sure, because like the Texas one, for example, I was okay to do it, but I just wanted a clear outline of their COVID procedures, and how they were gonna make sure we were isolated and everything was done, and it was very clearly laid out what was expected of me, and what they were gonna, what procedures they were gonna have in place, to make sure everyone was tested and everyone was kept isolated and so forth. And they've been great. So, that's the only thing with other promoters is, they've got to be willing to work with us on those things, but like I said, the number of requests has been crazy. So, I mean, don't be surprised if you start seeing almost a Aldis Crusade 2.0, I think, where I'll sort of be going
That's
around
what we need.
defending the title and a bunch of, but it just won't be, I don't think it'll be anything international. I think it'll be within the confines of these United States, but it looks, I mean, it certainly seems like there are a number of promoters who want a world title match, and I think we're willing to give it to them at this point.
Well, on that note, I mean, obviously, champ, we're grateful for you being here, and we want you to feel free. I mean, you're being very generous with your time. This was spur of the moment, and so thank you.
I just took my pre-workout, Gary. I'm fired up.
Oh, I love it, man. And we obviously didn't even expect to have you actually here with us. We were going to be talking about this either way. It's awesome to have you here. My main question for you is, how are you feeling right now? I know you're fired up because of the pre-workout, but pre-workout aside, dude, you've been on a hiatus. We've seen you have a break, even though you didn't want it, you didn't ask for it. You're a fighting champ, we know that, but you've had a break, and now out of nowhere, 2020 just picked up. You've got competition, and not light competition. I imagine that with this deal coming up, there's going to be some folks that are ready to get a shot at the champ. Jeff Cobb is by no means a pushover. He's coming up. It's not getting any easier for you. You've had your rest now in 2020. Are you ready? Do you feel good? Is the champ ready to go?
What does this shirt say, Gary? Look at that. Strong as ever. All right. Let me just tell you, I weighed in the other day at 250 on the nose. On the nose, Gary. All right. And I'm leaning out, my friend. At 250. All right.
Wow.
By the time we get to the end of the month, I reckon I'll probably be sitting around 245. It's been, I've taken
250 would be lean for me too. Just to
I was gonna say
90 custom-made 90-day plans are available at nickaldis.com.
What's the coupon code?
I've been training hard, and I've been going down to the Tried and True school and making sure I stay sharp in the ring. With there's a lot of hungry young talent down there, and Tom's the head trainer there, so we've been rolling around. And if you're going to stay sharp in the heavyweight division, there's not much better than Tom Latimer to keep you sharp. And look, it's kind of the same for everyone. So I think that, I mean, obviously there are, WWE guys and stuff have been working pretty constantly, but aside from them and some of the AEW guys, it's like everyone's kind of been working on a much more limited schedule. Now, granted, I haven't worked at all. So, that's different, but I'm not worried about it. Like I said, I'll be getting plenty of ring time between now and the end of the month, as well as, you know, continuing to jack the iron around. And I'll be ready to go. I'm looking forward to it.
How are you feeling about jumping into the empty arena thing? Because you haven't done it at all yet.
Well, you say I haven't done it, but you obviously weren't around for some of my early matches early in my career at the Purfleet Working Men's Club in Surrey, England, where the only audience, and I have a funny story, the only audience was a disgruntled man who thought he'd come in for a pint and was looking up from his newspaper like, what's happening? And that man was witness to a match that the fans have been clamoring for years, which is Nick Aldis and Stu Bennett.
Ooh.
Okay. I mean, me and Stu were doing the empty arena thing long before it was cool. Okay. You know, but I mean, no, in all seriousness, I think that's where I've been watching a lot, you know, and this is not a shot at any one wrestler in particular or any promotion or anything like that. But I've been watching a lot of the empty arena stuff, and I've been kind of going, man, I feel like a lot of them are really missing the point, like really missing the opportunity that's being presented to them. Because for me, I've always been, you know, especially with the way wrestling is currently, I've kind of stood out by slowing things down, telling more of a story, you know, being much more cognizant of details, you know, and psychology. And the only, you know, the main difficulty with that is you've got to have a certain level of kind of respect from the audience to be able to get away with it. Otherwise they just start chanting boring, or they just kind of lose interest. So you get crickets. And, you know, for me, I think the real opportunity that presents itself to a lot of guys currently is that with no audience, or with very limited audience, you have, you know, it's kind of a level playing field. So now you can take more chances and tell more of a story. But again, you know, that's just my take. And I see guys like Daniel Bryan and AJ and guys like that who have been thriving in this environment because they've wrestled all over the world. Like they've wrestled in Japan, they've wrestled in Europe, they've wrestled in the States, they've wrestled in Mexico. So they know how to adapt, you know, to different environments, you know. And so, I mean, Japan in particular, you know, anyone who's wrestled in Japan was, you know, kind of knows that feeling of, well, they're not making a lot of noise right now. They're watching and they're paying attention. And that was also the case in British wrestling, you know, for a long time too. There was, you know, there were different sort of styles, but in Britain, you know, for the longest time, the style in Britain was very attentive, you know, and it was very much about watching and paying attention to the story being told by the two, you know, by a chess match happening in the ring. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, because, you know, I like doing that kind of thing. And the great thing about World Championship matches is that there is a bit more of an expectation of it being a long match with some storytelling and it being a game of chess. And that's where I thrive, man. I mean, that's my wheelhouse. So like, I'm looking forward to it. The key thing is to have good quality announcers. And I'm obviously very confident that we'll have that, you know, between, you know, the NWA announce team and TK, Todd Kennelly, who's, you know, he's been a good friend of mine for a long time. And, you know, I think he'll be involved in this. And so, and I'm sure others too, but you know, that's a big part of it. Like this time period has been very, very, there's been a real time for the announcers to step up and shine because they've got a real heavy workload to keep the audience engaged. I think, but, you know, between all those things, I'm looking forward to it because at the end of the day, you know, everything's a challenge, you know, as a professional. It's like, can you take these circumstances and make it better? I mean, yeah, like most of my highlight videos are going to consist mostly of All In, NWA 70, the Crockett Cup, Power, you know, and like, you know, a handful of other sort of big high profile shows that I've done that's well attended. But shut up, dog. But for the most part, people forget that, you know, for a year leading up to that, Like I wrestled in a building in Belfast that was like below freezing, you know, and like the conditions were so bad that I almost said, I'm not doing this. But then I went, nope, these people paid to see a world title match and that's what they're getting. So I stood in a freaking little kind of porta cabin with a storage heater with a coat on over my gear until the second that my music was playing. And then, you know, walked out and worked a match, but still worked 20 minutes and you know, sent the people home happy. So it's like, I've been there before. I mean, I've defended the title in front of 11,000 and a number closer to 11. So I'm very confident that I can make it happen in any environment.
I believe that. Well,
you should
obviously,
believe it, Gary.
you know, like you've got nothing but fans here. Side note, if you're wondering, Mr. Aldis, of course, none of us would disrespect you with dogs yapping or phone noises. So you might be wondering who would, and it would be Mr. David Marquez, who has also joined us.
Oh, I should have known. I should have known. Well, this is a perfect opportunity for me to tag out because I need to go work out.
All right. But, well, Mr. Aldis.
Hey, J-Cal, turn your phone off vibrate too.
Was it J-Cal? I've been like messaging people like, shut your phones off. And then Marquez showed up and I can't talk to him.
I know this because I heard it go, and then I saw the little green gimmick go around J-Cal.
It's off now.
Right. Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Aldis, for joining us.
All right.
We are blessed by your presence, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
All
champ.
right, see you guys.
All right.
Hi, Nick.
Thank you. Well, who says we don't ever bring you guys anything? If you're watching right now, you just saw the real world's heavyweight champion, Mr. Nick Aldis, joined us live right here, spur of the moment, gracious with his time, came on this show to talk to you guys, to address the fans, the public about the big news. Now, he had some answers. He knew what his plans were. He knew what he wanted to do as far as the real world's championship goes. But the man who actually made the announcement, the man with all of the answers, everything you could ever want to know about anything, he's here right now. And I'm probably building him up a little bit too much, but Dave.
Are you kidding? No more.
The most beautiful man I've ever seen.
You want me to go grab my Emmy Award too? We can talk about it.
That'd be nice.
What? Just one Emmy? I believe there's more than one.
There are two.
Yeah, there are two Emmys.
Let's not forget that David
Joseph
Marquez,
Galley needs to. Yes.
Let's not forget that David Marquez was the innovator of empty arena wrestling, because I was there in Santa Monica and all six of us enjoyed that wrestling.
But who was on that show?
Some of the best talent you'll ever think of. Fergal Devitt, Carl the Machine Gun Anderson, Rocky Romero.
AJ Styles?
Yeah, Alex Kozlov.
Yeah, but I would say AJ Styles, CM Punk.
Samoa Joe.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to jump in here, but Rob Stinson, you had something to say here. Is that right?
Yeah, hey, Mr. Marquez, I'm sorry. I'm actually at an open house at school right now. I jumped in because this was such an important news event that I needed to be in here with my boys. But I just want to tell you, I feel like I told the champ earlier, I feel like this is a dream, and I'm so happy, and I just appreciate that all you've done, all the work that you've done behind the scenes, and what you've always done to sustain the NWA, and to bring it back, to a reality. So I just want to let you know before I bounce out of here that I very deeply appreciate you and your work.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been since we've been down. I'm not sure exactly what Nick has said, but he's been privy to bits and pieces of this as we've started. I've been actually working on a pay-per-view model deal for probably about 2 years, and I just never felt that the opportunity was right or the timing was right. And this whole thing kind of came out of, whoa, hey,
all right,
it is California. Came out of, did I lose you guys?
No, we're still here, buddy. I see your beautiful picture right there on the screen. There you are.
That's strange how that fell. But I've been working on this a long time, and I've been doing a lot of pay-per-views with basketball and MMA and boxing for probably a good 4 or 5 years. And 2 years ago, something within demand came up, and I didn't jump on it. Fight has wanted us to do a live something for many years. Didn't do it. One, it's a huge expense, but two, I just really didn't feel that I was into it. I didn't necessarily want to do anything live. And then we started doing the NWA stuff where we were doing live things. I directed the NWA 70th anniversary show and co-produced that with Jeff and David and Billy. That led into Power. Then we started doing, that stuff live and the pay-per-views. And that gave me way more confidence in considering doing a live broadcast with pro wrestling. It's basically, we've created our own opportunity to get into the live TV episodic business, where the WWE and AEW are the only two that live in that realm right now. Ours is a price point, of course. Don't know what that is just yet. We're still working on that. But much like NWA TNA and how they started with their weekly pay-per-views, now the United Wrestling Network and the NWA joined forces with Thunder Studios to create United Wrestling Network's Primetime Live. And I'm really, really excited. And I have to say another thing, Jake Al hit me up for an interview first while I was in the middle of a frenzy. And the only reason I popped on, I shouldn't say the only, a big reason I popped on was because you said Jake Al was here. So I felt it was fair to talk to both of you guys at the same time. So,
oh yeah, we're grateful for Jake Al, and we consider him part of the team here with us. Like, we're all like brothers in this. We love the NWA. We love what you're doing. So hopefully Jake Al understands that too. Yeah.
Yeah. He'll get his time with me. So.
Yeah.
So
David
what else
Marquez.
is going on? What do you want to know?
Jake Al, since you're the man, you go ahead and hit him up with the questions. We're gonna let you do it. I will not take over.
Well, of course, Dave, again, thank you for your time joining us on the show today. This was kind of unexpected. The news, we knew something was going to happen soon. There were some breadcrumbs you've been leaving for quite some time, but getting that news out there, the reaction that you're hearing from the fans, from us, how do you feel so far about where this might be going? Are you excited? The response been well?
For the most part, from what I can see, it's a great opportunity. For us and the fans, there's going to be a lot of confusion. One of the biggest pieces I'm seeing right now is no more NWA Power. This just happens to be on Tuesdays. It wasn't built that way because of NWA Power. It was available on pay-per-view and studio availability. This is additional to NWA Power when that's ready to come back. There's been no talking, no conversations about Power going away at all. This is just a brand new show, additional to. But for the most part, I think people are excited about it, but there's probably going to be a lot of confusion with dual branding, and that's why it's not dual branded. It is United Wrestling Network's Primetime Live, and it's an open door. Anybody could come in. The NWA could come in. MLW could come in. Ring of Honor could come in. New Japan could come in. Anybody could come in to this program. That's how it's designed. So you never know who you're going to see. The people may or may not be promoted, and you have to watch the show.
Well, I'm sold. I'm sold already.
So David, now how is this going to change how things happen in Hollywood already? I mean, look, we know from your weekly conversations on Facebook, we know that you're promoting the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, that it's set to return in about 2 weeks in production. Right. And then tapings will start airing in September. We know that your production team is responsible for doing the New Japan Strong on Friday nights, also at the Ocean View Pavilion. And then so now this piece of that equation, is this going to change anything that you're doing currently? Will it temper the product in any way?
I don't think so. I'm hoping that it will be complementary to what we're doing on the Hollywood program, because there's going to be times, because since we don't have to draw a crowd, we can shoot at any time. So if we shoot, if we're live on Tuesday, we can carry people over to Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday at the Ocean View Pavilion and use those talents as well, since they're here already. So I see a big opportunity for everyone involved. I hope we get more stories out of this. I hope we get more personalities out of this. And then when international opens back up, I really hope that, you know, maybe Mikey Nichols might show back up, maybe someone out of Canada, people out of Canada show up, Mexico will open back up, and it'll create something really cool. You know, I saw one person already with a negative comment, like, why the hell would I pay for this lower tier show when the big shows are for free?
Screw 'em.
It doesn't concern me. If you know anything about me, that's the last thing. Bad press, publicity, or comments is part of my
Ask
life.
them if they'd pay for the shows they're getting for free right now. That's
you know, they know they're some of those they are paying because they have to sit through it.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's you know, everyone's going to have their own opinions. Everyone's going to be either for it or against it. I've always said this about the NWA, even when I was a big part of it, prior to the new ownership. Billy's, I can't even say new anymore. It's now 3 years. The Lightning One ownership of NWA. The NWA can do no wrong with certain people. It doesn't matter who's running it. It doesn't matter if you go back to Carluzzo and Tony Rumble or Bob Geigel or Bob Trovich or Bruce Tharp. There's always a giant, not a little, a giant concentration of fans who loves that logo and the legacy that it represents. So, you know, of course, it's going to be first and foremost in everybody's mind. They're going to think that, you know, top billing and all that kind of stuff. That's not a big piece to me right now. I just want to present the best that we can, produce the best that we can. It's going to be live. I'm sure there's going to be screw ups and mistakes and all that fun stuff going into it. The crew we're putting together, an awful lot of people from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood will be involved in the television production side of it. But then the technical side is going to be Thunder Studios, and they've never done pro wrestling. They've done an awful lot of live broadcasting from Dodgers games, Laker games, you know, all that kind of stuff. They're broadcasters. But pro wrestling is different. It's special. Billy Trask will be coming back in to direct the show, so the Power director will be there.
God bless it.
We will not be using studio cameras, though. We won't be using the big roll-arounds. Everything will be on shoulders and jibs, and making it a little more modern, because the Power vibe is the Power vibe. This is not.
I love jibs, by the way.
Yeah.
You know that.
Well, we'll see what comes. Yeah, we'll see what comes out of this and how it works, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to make a junket for some members of the press, a video junket, where I'll be in the studio and maybe do a tour for folks to see what it is, the facilities and whatnot. I mean, it's not going to be that much different from Raw, SmackDown, AEW. There's not much you can do. Even the NBA, what they're doing is they just have, you know, they're at Disney World and they have giant LEDs and they're zooming people in, something that I wanted to do, but we couldn't figure out the technology to make it work the right way.
I believe you mentioned that with our interview with you.
That's right. We tried. We really did. We tried bringing it in and bringing in additional, whether it's projections or if it's LEDs itself. But, you know, the cost in doing this is incredible. And not that I'm running away from it, but it's, you know, we're going to have to rely on advertising and stuff that we've always relied on over the years with the Hollywood program. It's broadcasting, it's television, and we're going to treat it that way. And the best part, I feel, it's 90 minutes. So we have 90 minutes every week to present some names and some faces. You know, maybe Matt Nix might show up, or, you know, maybe Manny Lemons from Utah might show up, or, You know, you never know who's going to be on the program. You might discover someone new, just like the folks discovered Zicky Dice, who was on my programming for years, you know, and then they found him on Power and embraced him. So you never know who you're going to see, what you're going to like, who you're going to like, who you're going to dislike. And that's the whole point of the program.
Yeah, Dave. I mean, I'm seeing people talk about that. You've already sold them on a show they were going to watch anyway. So this is this is beautiful. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge some of our chat participants and just some questions that they had. If you don't mind, I would
Sure.
like you can answer what you can. But I am seeing, like, is there any plans for including a live audience or limited live participation, or have you had any time to think about that?
Well, we've talked to the county, LA County, the city of Long Beach, where the studio is its own city. They have their own laws, their own rules, and the studio that we're Thunder Studios, they're a real working television and movie production company, a facility. So they're following a handbook that's put out by the Producers Guild. So from a social distancing and safety and COVID, you know, you just have to follow all those protocols. It's crazy. So, you know, if I feel a little scatterbrained, because I'm getting messages and everything too. So
No, I believe we are nothing but respectful. If we can emphasize that anymore.
Yeah, no, thanks. But like Maureen just sent me an email, and I'm just like, well, what's that? It's going to be cool. Let's just put it that way. It's going to be cool. This was the fans. I apologize. So the fans. So we've talked about putting people in there, but I believe in total, the capacity of our studio and its square footage, we're only allowed 50 people. That includes the crew. That includes the talent. So, and I'm not necessarily feeling safe about bringing in the public just yet. There's a lot going on. People know that I have a Disney background, and I deal with and talk a lot with my Walt Disney Parks and Resorts friends in the guest relations and reopening parks. I know Florida's opened, but now they're cutting back in hours and they're redoing things. The international parks are operating, but Disneyland here in California is not open. And that says a lot to me. So that tells me California is not the greatest in the greatest shape right now. So we're going to take it easy. Once fans are allowed back in, and if we stay at the Thunder Studios, yeah, of course we want people there. But I'm sure there'll be a big protocol. And when you read the media release, there's actually a link that you can click on that tells you, there's a PDF that tells you all the COVID stuff that the studio is prepping and what they go through every day and what we'll be following.
So Dave, one of the questions that we asked Nick that he wasn't really able to give a sound answer on, and I know you and I have talked about this in the past, but just to make it clear for fans who are watching this right now, the NWA and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood specifically have a long tenured relationship. It was Championship Wrestling from Hollywood that more or less reintroduced the world to Tim Storm and the NWA 10 Pounds of Gold. Will we continue to see talent from the NWA appear in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's not changing as far as I'm concerned. If Billy decides he doesn't want to participate, I can't make him. But as far as I know, yes. And there's going to be a cross promotion between the live program and Hollywood and Arizona, and hopefully on Patreon and YouTube and all of that. Promos to watch the show. Here's what's happening. The title matches will be promoted like they normally are. I really do hope that interviews and whatnot and building to a resolution on television plays out on all of our programming. So 100%.
Can you give us a spoiler alert, Dave? What are we going to get the world title on the first match, on the first show? Not first match.
I'm not sure if there's going to be a match, but I'll tell you that the world's champion will be there.
Nice. That's beautiful. Dave, I don't feel like you're probably going to be able to answer this, but I want to honor the chat participants. Any word on, because I feel like we're talking to the man right now. This is United Wrestling Network. But NWA obviously has the Carneyland situation going on, the Patreon folks that they have. Do you know anything about any connection between those two things? Like, will Patreon afford any privileges?
If you read Billy's quote, and I'll try to bring it up to you and read it to you real quickly.
I actually think I have it.
He says, I'm pleased that we're finally able to announce some good news, and in partnering with the United Wrestling Network, we'll be able to get back to work with what promises to be top-tier matchups, and soon. It goes without saying that 2020's has been a challenging year for everyone, and our goal in reestablishing in-ring NWA action was to make sure that our talent would be protected working within the now established safety protocols, as well as delivering consistent high-quality content to our vaulted shows, NWA Power and the 10 Pounds of Gold. But this will be more than just a weekly live pay-per-view broadcast, as we plan to shoot additional content for NWA YouTube channel and our Patreon subscribers. So, we have the stage and we have the Ocean View Pavilion to shoot additional content. So as far as I'm concerned, and Billy just said in his quote there that, we're going to still be doing stuff.
Oh, that's so awesome. I mean, I think people really need to understand what's going on here, because I've seen in the chat room a lot of people like, well, we want NWA Power. And yeah, I do too. But what's going on here is that we're getting not only NWA champions defending in the United Wrestling Network, we still have NWA talent appearing in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and potentially Championship Wrestling from Arizona and maybe even Championship Wrestling from Memphis when that gets going.
That's right.
Then now we got this pay-per-view where we're going to get top-tier talents. The world is kind of like the oyster right now, because you've got Nick Aldis and the 10 Pounds of Gold, and there's so many great top-tier talents who are out there who aren't in a committed contract, who could come in and challenge. And I know that Dave Marquez is good about bringing in great talent. I've known Dave personally for almost 16 years now.
It has to be more than that.
Okay, maybe closer to 18 years? Are we 20 years?
It has to be closer to 20. I mean, were you around during any of the UPW stuff?
That's right. Okay, so 20 years.
Yeah.
So I've known Dave for a pretty long time, and his connection to talent has been, again, if it's bringing in top names or discovering talent, Marquez has got his thumb on the pulse of society and professional wrestling. You guys need to get jacked up about this.
Well, Jake Cal, yeah, I mean, if I could capitalize on that, and then sorry to just jump in here, but I mean this is exactly what I'm thinking too. And I'm a little bit newer to the game and my relationship with you and Mr. Marquez here, and grateful for it. But this is bigger than NWA Power. If I could say that, and that may be blasphemous to some of our audience, but this is a bigger deal. This is exactly what a lot of you have hoped for out of the wrestling industry, and to talk about just what you were emphasizing just then is some of the talent here. I mean, you're talking to David Marquez right here on the show right now, who guys you've seen on NWA Power, like he mentioned Zicky Dice, but let's talk about a Royce Isaacs. I mean, the numbers are huge on the people that he's introduced us to.
You could even go back to Trevor Murdoch. I mean,
even Trevor Murdoch.
It goes back and back, man. It's no, I have a pretty good eye for talent for sure, and I just hope that whomever we bring in, whether they're somebody that people care about, someone that maybe they felt was wronged in the WWE or Japanese company or wherever, that they'll be able to see these folks in a great package and compete, and maybe even weekly, as this stuff rolls along. So there's going to be some stuff on the show that I'm sure the NWA faithful they're going to absolutely hate. Sure of it, it's just because that's not their vibe.
Everybody.
Well, no, we never do. But I guarantee you, there's so many people right now of the, let's say 100,000 people that may be talking about this around the world, and that's, I think, being conservative. That there's probably a good 10 to 15,000 of those people that are like, fuck, Marquez is back doing this shit again, And how many more chances is he going to get to do so? You know, there's always those people out there that are just going to tear it down. I don't watch championship wrestling from Hollywood or Arizona because I hate it. You know, it's not what you know, it's there. I am used to it. I know. You know, if I put Dan Joseph on TV as the United television champion, and then if Zicky Dice is on as the NWA television champion on another episode, you know, it's going to be like, you know, well, Zicky's the man, not that Dan Joseph has a personality and a story and everything too. So there's going to be favoritism, which is great because it creates awesome rivalries that we can play off of. And that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to see where the future is going to take this. We're already signed up for 52 weeks of this show. I hope we make the 52 weeks. And because there's a lot that goes into this, guys. It's not this is not a slam dunk. This is a lot of work. We're very early in the game. You know, the 15th of September is going to be here quick. And you know, there's lots of things that are out there. The talent who are not contracted with us can go and get jobs at someone else. We've seen that several times now. Same thing with Hollywood people. You know, they're being courted by others. So as we're putting the creative together, that's always up in the air. And luckily, it's live television that, you know, anything could happen. You have no idea who's going to show up. You have no idea what's going to happen. And it's live. You have WWE, AEW, and now Primetime Live. So we're really looking forward to what the future is going to bring. And I really don't know what's going to happen because it's all, if you can see, and you can, but I'm not going to show you. My wall over here is nothing but a schedule. And there are matches, there are names, there's ideas for the next 15 weeks after the 15th of September. So we're working hard on it. And then our traditional broadcasts, hang on a second, Jason, our traditional broadcasts that we put on TV with Hollywood, like the Red Carpet Rumble or the Percy Pringle Cup or Milestone. Now for me, I have an opportunity to create even a bigger spectacular and put those on pay-per-view. And now incorporate the NWA guys in there as well with these established branded names, so event names. And we're kicking around new names for new pay-per-views. So, you know, you have the Crockett Cup stuff. You know, there could be another one-off pay-per-view. Let's say, and this is not by any means real, but let's just say MLW wants to come and play. And so we put them into the mix. And now they might have their own offshoot pay-per-view. So as a mega event. So I'm just happy to be a hub for production. I'm not sure if the people listening and watching this right now knows that I'm producing the NWA Strong, or I'm sorry, the New Japan Strong program is being produced by our Hollywood team. So, you know, our hands are in everything for sure, but you know, our goal is what they are and what it is. And we're really happy to see where this goes. And I can't thank William Patrick Corrigan enough for believing and trusting us in putting this together. It wasn't easy, but he's going along with it. We're doing this together, and I really do hope that the public gets behind it.
Man, I can't tell you how excited I am about this whole thing. This is, I can't emphasize enough how big this is, folks. So like everything you've been hoping for that you think that the other companies are missing out on, this is your step here. It feels like this news, I'm not sure enough people wrap their heads around like what this could mean for the wrestling industry as a whole if we get behind it and we support it. And you know, Dave, obviously you've got friends here, you've got friends at the Alliance blog. Like we're on board. We're ready to support you guys.
That's 10 buys. But we
got
need
10 buys, easy.
We need 20,000 buys. We need 50,000 buys every week.
I mean, I feel like 10 buys was a strong estimate, but
you know, with millions and millions of people worldwide who's going to get this. And by the way, the show's going to be simulcasted in Spanish. So there's an entire Latin American audience that should be able to grab this.
So what he's trying to say, folks, is buy it in English and Spanish. You got to do both.
Well, I think you have to press a button and you get both. You could select.
Hey, David.
But anyhow, yeah. Shut up. What?
You guys have a great relationship.
Hollywood Creative is being spearheaded by Carmine, who hasn't really had an opportunity yet to kind of stretch out his roots for Hollywood. Will he be involved in the creative for United Wrestling Network, or is this something else entirely different?
This is entirely different. And, Carmine is working with a staff of people. We're all just exchanging ideas right now. There's not one particular head writer at the moment for the Hollywood program. So it's a collective. We're putting a lot of, only because he can't come in and out. Like, he's in Texas or Oklahoma, and yes, he's following all the protocols and taking it serious, but I'm not flying people in for the sake of just flying people in. It's you have to have a reason to be here. And yes, that's a big reason, but we can execute, the ideas without him. So, there's a committee. I'm taking a bigger role in the creative side of the Hollywood program.
This is amazing. I mean, I know that you're not pitching it this way, and you're being very conservative with your approach to this, and I appreciate that. That's very nice of you, and you're just like giving us the tease of you just got to show up and see what happens. But we are running away with this. We're running away with this as hey, if you want to change the wrestling industry, you want to support something that's actually different, that's actually new. This is your thing. Folks, I'm seeing people in the chat saying, take my money now, 100%. And this is what we're talking about. Like, this is anybody, anytime, anywhere could show up right here to this show. You don't know. And that's what I don't know, Dave, we just spent like a whole episode talking about like what we felt we wish we could see out of the wrestling industry. And this just feels like a bigger step towards that, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, thanks. We're going to really try to do what we do best. We are excellent at creating stars. If you look at the history of not just my program, the Hollywood program, if you go back to NWA Pro Wrestling or NWA Showcase or the New Japan, the first New Japan USA Tokan programs, like, all that I've ever done was find people who have passion and a drive and the ability to do this. It takes them to make this happen. I don't make stars. I know how to guide and help people find their way. And it might take a long time for that to happen. But in the real world, that's how that happens too. So people watching right now, you may have started in the mailroom somewhere or as a cashier or something, whether it's a grocery store or any retail or whatever, but let's say you stay 15 years. Well, now you're probably a general manager or a supervisor. You're getting more money. So you put the time in, you've learned the business that you've been promoted in, and hopefully you're being compensated for it. In pro wrestling world, we're finally seeing that. Like, there's too many people, I believe, who look at the WWE development systems or the performance center and the bodybuilders and models and football players and just kind of sticking them places and like, oh, that didn't work, so toss them or her or whatever. I'm going back to the basics in presenting this idea. I really, really, really hope that there are diamonds out there that I don't know of that we're going to discover and put them in fantastic programs, and you get to see them. Like on my show now, the Hollywood program, we have Jordan Clearwater, the Golden Boy. Fantastic talent. He actually comes out of Kentucky, and Roger Ruffin I think it's called Northeastern Wrestling Alliance, I think, or Federation. I could be completely wrong with there. But that's where he comes from. Carl Anderson sent him to me. He trained him. So now he's on our program, and we're getting ready to really allow him to spread his wings. Now, if he's on the live program, more eyeballs will be on him, and I hope that people will say, damn, that kid's great, which also I hope opens up the WWE to see him and AEW to see him and Ring of Honor to see him, because that's how it works. There are stepping stones to this, and the NWA too, much like, Ricky Starks and boy, why did I forget his name? He's gonna hate me. Kingston. Holy shit, I can't forget. I forgot his name. But Kingston, they used it. Now they're getting taken care of, and they're in another spot. Peter Avalon was with me for 11 years, and now he's the librarian, getting paid fantastic money. So, that's what I really hope, that we find these diamonds They stick it with us for a while. We put them on our programming. They get interaction with, maybe dojo boys at the new LA dojo, or they're in hand to hand with Caleb Connolly or whatever, in building all these people together to create this great, hopefully fantastic meal people are going to want to buy every week. I want it to be your favorite restaurant. Keep coming back once a week.
I think you've got it. And I think if we could count on anybody to have the ability to find the diamonds out there, it's going to be Dave Marquez. So we are super excited for this happening. And for those folks who don't know that are asking in the chat, it's on Fight TV. Plans on starting on September 15th.
It's on Fight, but it's also on traditional pay-per-view. You can watch it on television and order it through in demand and AT&T and Spectrum, and just like you would way back in the day. It's going to be on both platforms, and an SAP channel will be available in Spanish.
Perfect. This is beautiful. Dave, thank you so much for your time. We're going to kill the live chat here. Thank you guys all in the chat for joining us. I am Matt. This is Gary Horn. Dave, tell everybody where they can find you online if they want to get more updates like this.
At United Wrestling on Twitter, at NWA on Twitter, NationalWrestlingAlliance.com, which you guys know about, UnitedWrestlingTV.com, or at CWF Hollywood, or myself is CWF H Marquez, Marquez. It's going to be there. It's I'm really excited. It might not be coming out that I'm excited, but I really am. And yes, I am being conservative because it's really wide open. There's so much that can be done with this. Is just too crazy to kind of think about right now. And it's a dream come true for me. This is quite possibly the biggest project that I'm ever going to do in wrestling as an individual producer, promoter. I've done big stuff in the past. I've done major arenas. I was vice president of New Japan Pro Wrestling. I was a cog in the NWA for many years. Harley Races and Gordon Soley broke me in the right way. And I figured out broadcast television. And now it's time to go on and prove to cable channels that you could have more live programming in the pro wrestling genre. It's so weird to me that like ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, CW, you could have so many dramas and so many comedies and so many game shows, and nobody cares. But when it comes to pro wrestling, it's like WWE or nothing. And understandably so, by the way. I like to use theme parks as an example. Here in Southern California, we have an awful lot of theme parks, from down south to SeaWorld all the way up to probably the boardwalk in Santa Cruz. But you have Disneyland. You can't mess with Disneyland. That is the WWE. You can't.
Right.
And the rest of us are like Knott's Berry Farm. And a lot of people are like, oh, I like Knott's Berry Farm. Sure, a lot of people like Knott's Berry Farm, but you're not there 9 times a month with your annual pass, and you're not doing this, and you're not buying merchandise like crazy and all that. You go down there, you get some boysenberry something, or you go to Universal Studios once every 6 months if you're a pass holder or something. It's not that, I dare use the term magical for the WWE, but it's not that fantastical like the WWE is, the rest of us wrestling promotions. So as COVID has shut down most of the country, ourselves included up until now, I think it's a huge benefit for us to create a brand new 90-minute weekly live broadcast.
Folks, you're not going to get any bigger news than this week. And as in terms of wrestling, this is the biggest thing. So stay tuned here. If you're not already subscribed to youtube.com/the NWA pod, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, you got to do it now. You got to subscribe to the Alliance blog. I was joined today with at Hey It's Will with 1L, David Marquez, and of course J-Cal, Mr. Jason Cayley, at the Alliance blog at First Two Thirds. You guys got to hit those guys up. Anyway, we're going to cut the live feed now. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, enjoy your gravy cake.